It was another long, exhausting day for Emma, a young nurse working the night shift at a city hospital. She had just finished tending to her last patient, her feet aching and her eyes heavy with sleep. Emma wasn't rich, nor did she come from privilege. She worked tirelessly just to afford her small rented apartment and support her younger brother's education. As she walked home from the hospital that chilly evening, her mind drifted toward how she would make her brother's birthday special, even with her limited savings. She was halfway down the street when she noticed something unusual, a frail elderly woman sitting on a park bench, clutching her chest and breathing heavily. Without hesitation, Emma ran toward her. "Ma'am, are you okay?" she asked, her professional instincts kicking in. The old woman looked pale, beads of sweat on her forehead. I just need a minute," she stammered weakly before fainting in Emma's arms. Emma quickly laid her down on the bench, checked her pulse, and realized she was having a mild heart episode. Without thinking twice, she called for an ambulance and stayed by her side, whispering soothing words and keeping her hand warm. When the ambulance arrived, the paramedics asked if Emma was a relative. "No, just a nurse passing by," she replied. But when they struggled to lift the woman, Emma climbed in and went along to make sure she was okay. At the hospital, Emma stayed until the old woman regained consciousness. "You saved me," the woman whispered with a weak smile. "Thank you, my dear." Emma smiled gently. "Just doing what anyone would, ma'am." Before leaving, the woman asked for Emma's name, but Emma politely refused. "It's not important," she said. "I'm just glad you're safe." Emma quietly slipped away and went home, not knowing that her small act of kindness had been witnessed by a driver nearby, the old woman's personal chauffeur, who recognized her instantly. The woman was none other than Margaret Hamilton, mother of Ethan Hamilton, the billionaire CEO of Hamilton Industries, a powerful company that owned hospitals, research centers, and medical institutions across the country. The next morning, the story took a turn. At the Hamilton mansion, Ethan was pacing around the living room, furious and worried. "Mother, why on earth were you alone in the park?" he demanded when she returned home. "You know your health isn't good." Margaret only smiled softly. "Ethan, I met someone special yesterday. A young nurse who saved my life, and didn't even tell me her name." Ethan frowned. "You're saying a stranger helped you, and you don't even know who she is?" Margaret nodded. "All I remember is her face, so kind, so genuine. She had no idea who I was. That kind of goodness can't be bought, Ethan." Ethan sighed. He had built his billion-dollar company with strict discipline and rarely trusted anyone outside his corporate circle. But something about his mother's tone stayed with him. "I'll find her," he said finally. "If she works in one of our hospitals, we'll know." Meanwhile, Emma's life continued as usual. She returned to work at the city hospital, helping patients, comforting families, and skipping meals just to finish her rounds. She never bragged about what she'd done. For her, it was just another night of doing what was right. But a few days later, her supervisor called her into the office. "Emma," he said, looking both surprised and nervous, "the CEO of Hamilton Industries is here. He asked for you personally." Emma froze. The CEO of Hamilton Industries? Why? Before she could process what was happening, a tall, well-dressed man entered the room. His presence was commanding, his eyes sharp but calm. "Miss Emma?" he asked. "I'm Ethan Hamilton." Emma nodded hesitantly. "Yes, sir. How can I help you?" He smiled slightly. "You already did. You helped my mother when she fainted in the park. She told me about you." Emma's eyes widened. "Oh, I didn't realize she was a billionaire," he finished with a small laugh. "Yes, most people treat her differently because of that. But you didn't. You stayed by her side without expecting anything." "I was just doing my duty," Emma said humbly. Ethan's expression softened. That's exactly what impressed her, and me. That afternoon, Ethan invited her to visit his mother at the mansion. At first, Emma hesitated, she wasn't used to luxury or attention. But Margaret insisted. "Please, my dear, come have tea with me. I owe you more than thanks." The Hamilton mansion was breathtaking, crystal chandeliers, marble floors, and manicured gardens that looked straight out of a fairy tale. Emma felt out of place, wearing her simple floral dress, but Margaret's warm smile instantly put her at ease. "My dear," Margaret said, holding Emma's hand, "I've lived a long life surrounded by people who pretend to care. You are different. You stayed when you didn't have to." Emma smiled shyly. "It was nothing, ma'am. It was everything," Margaret insisted. "You reminded me that there's still goodness in this world. Ethan watched the two women talk, feeling something stir in his heart. He had spent years buried in contracts, meetings, and boardrooms, forgetting what true compassion looked like. Emma, with her simplicity and sincerity, reminded him of a world beyond business. Over the next few weeks, Margaret invited Emma over several times, sometimes for tea, sometimes just to talk. Slowly, Ethan joined those meetings, and each time, he found himself drawn to her quiet strength. One day, Margaret called her son into her study. "Ethan," she said firmly, "you spend millions hiring people who pretend to care. This girl works herself to exhaustion for pennies, and still smiles. People like her deserve more." Ethan nodded. "I've been thinking the same thing. She's special, Mother." Margaret smiled knowingly. "More special than you realize." The next day, Ethan made an unexpected announcement at the hospital. During the weekly staff meeting, he appeared in person, a rare sight. "I want to recognize someone who reminds us all why we entered healthcare," he began. "Nurse Emma Collins." Emma froze as everyone turned toward her, clapping in surprise. "For your compassion, integrity, and selflessness, we're promoting you to head nurse," Ethan continued. "And, as of today, you'll also lead our new outreach program to train young nurses in rural areas, fully sponsored by Hamilton Industries." Tears welled in Emma's eyes. "Sir, I don't know what to say. Just keep being who you are," Ethan said with a smile. "That's enough. From that day forward, Emma's life transformed. She used her new position not for fame or money, but to help others. She organized free medical camps, trained young nurses, and even started a charity fund for struggling students in nursing school. Margaret often visited her at work, proud as ever. "You've brought so much light, my dear," she'd say, holding Emma's hand. And Ethan, he visited too, at first under the excuse of checking progress, but soon it became obvious that his interest wasn't just professional. He admired Emma deeply, for her honesty, her passion, and her heart. One evening, after a long charity event, he found her sitting under a tree outside the hospital, sipping tea from a paper cup. He sat beside her quietly. "You know," he said, "I used to think money could fix everything. But then I met you." Emma laughed softly. "And what did I teach you, Mr. CEO?" He smiled. "That the richest people are those who give without expecting anything in return." She looked at him, touched by his sincerity. "That's a lesson worth remembering." They sat in silence for a moment, watching the city lights flicker in the distance. It wasn't a fairy tale ending, it was real, human, and beautiful. Months later, Emma received an invitation to an event, a Hamilton Industries gala celebrating their new healthcare foundation. Nervous but honored, she attended in her simple blue dress. As the night progressed, Ethan took the stage. "Tonight," he said, "we honor not just success, but compassion. And there's one person who embodies both, someone who showed us that true wealth lies in kindness." He turned toward Emma. "Nurse Emma Collins, will you please come up?" The crowd applauded as Emma walked up, blushing. Ethan handed her a bouquet, then took a deep breath. "My mother always says that a kind heart can heal more than medicine ever could. You proved her right." And before the audience, he added softly, "Emma, you've not only healed lives, you've changed mine." The hall fell silent for a moment before erupting in applause. Emma's eyes shimmered. "Ethan, I'm just a nurse." He smiled. "No, you're the reason I remember what humanity means." Margaret watched from the front row, tears in her eyes. Her heart was full, because the young nurse who once saved her life had now healed her son's as well. Emma never sought fame or fortune. She simply believed in doing good, one person at a time. But fate had a way of rewarding the purest souls. The poor young nurse who once helped a fainting old woman had unknowingly changed the lives of a billionaire family, and in doing so, proved that kindness is the greatest wealth of all.